Welcome to Tagged Beyond the Award, the podcast that celebrates innovation, excellence, and leadership. Each episode dives into inspiring stories behind the nominees and winners of the TAG Awards, uncovering the breakthroughs, challenges, and triumphs that define their journey. Whether it's cutting-edge technology, transformative products, or visionary leadership, we're here to explore what it means to stand out and shape the future of your industry. Let's go beyond the award and into the heart of innovation. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to Tagged Beyond the Award. Today's very exciting. I haven't seen you in several months. MaryBeth Privitera, thank you for joining me today. This is so exciting.
Oh, thanks, Justin. It's an honor to be back, and I always enjoy our conversation, so I'm looking forward to today.
I know we don't have them nearly as often as we should, for sure, because you're always such a delight to talk to, and I'm so thankful to have you, and we are so thankful to have you returning for year 2 of the TAG Awards as a judge this year. So welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. I know my travel schedule is a little bit rugged. You know, I've got kids here, there, and everywhere, consulting, lots of opportunities, lots of things going on.
Yeah, you're a woman that is always on the go, and I have always admired your work, especially in human factors and your eye for design and how things should and do fit together. And what are you seeing today?
Well, I've started last year. I started a design revival. I think we have to really focus in on our product design and make sure that we are doing the right product design for all of our customers, regardless of who that is, whether it's a patient or it's a physician or a very, very tired nurse. It doesn't matter, but I think the design is the most important part in terms of a successful product. So I've really been working with a couple of different companies around design and their design groups. Promoting, we just launched the next edition of HE75, which is the only design standard, and did some training with Amy on that. So I think that there seems to be a welcoming for new product design and seeing that as a leadership in the marketplace. So I'm super excited to be part of these awards and to evaluate them, because it's all about the product design. And I love to learn more about what other people are doing and how they're applying their design principles.
So in your opinion, what truly separates an interesting idea from a solution that actually has merit, or I don't say merit because we're talking about judges, but actually has a use case in MedTech or life sciences?
Yeah. So one of the principles that I've kind of been prophesizing, I would say, is that good design, it depends on the context, it depends on who the user is. So what might be good design for me may not fit you. It may not, it may be completely different depending upon who that user is, what they're trying to do, what are the situations and the conditions, the context of what they're trying to do. And I think that the reality is that becomes, you're always going to have some degree of variables that are going to be disparate from one another. They're going to be difficult to balance. In other words, I can't have a battery that lasts forever and be lightweight. Those are just things that are just kind of not possible. And I think that, given that you ask like what is kind of going on, there's that dream of this is the right product design. And then there's the actual action of making that product design and navigating those trade-off decisions to get something out in the market. I think it's in those trade-off decisions that you're going to find really strong design solutions that are manufacturable. They're able to be sold, because again, that's another part of the equation.
Absolutely. And how different is that from, say, consumer electronics or consumer devices? Because at the end of the day, the expectation for the users is akin to what they're getting at home. And but the lag often is because of regulations or testing.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. I think the difference would be that, if your TV set doesn't work or your phone, you have a challenge in it, it may not be something that alters your life right away. It's something that's an annoyance, it's an inconvenience. But in medical devices, it's the difference between, can I finish the surgery effectively? Am I able to get all of my medication? If I get a half dose of my medication, what's the clinical outcome of that? And in some instances, there's some rather sharp decline or challenges that users might have. And that's why we have the regulatory bodies. So I don't think that I'm a firm believer that the FDA is on our side to make sure that we're safe. And if you ask what FDA wants and what does your company want, they're likely to be the same thing. They want a safe and effective product. It's just you're going to layer on that business aspect that you want something to be competitive in the marketplace from a business. And that's not a regulatory question, that's a business question. So while I appreciate the age-old excuse of, well, regulatory slows this down, regulatory only means that you have to be safe and effective. It has nothing to do with, are you great design? Do you have a business model? So I think that there's a lot in line with consumer electronics. Also, our users expect the same experience. So why would I expect it to be any different than me turning on a consumer product when I use my medical device? There's literally that's what we expect. How many times have you gone up to a touch screen and it's not a touch screen and you're like, oh, how do I know if it's a touch screen?
So where you mentioned the age-old complaint about, oh, well, you got to go through this, but you obviously rightfully contend that both bodies want the same thing. Why does it cost so much more then? Is it the extra testing? Is it is there bloat? Like, what should some of these startups be aiming to disrupt?
Well, I think it is because of the testing. I mean, the reality is that, if you don't have to have the rigor that you do have to have for a medical device, I mean, those are, you're not audited. A consumer electronics company is not audited as much as a medical device company. We can't expect that same level of rigor in their manufacturing processes. So I think that might be one of the reasons. I mean, I'm not involved directly in the manufacturing side. I'm much more on the usability and human factor side, but that is a reality that we do have to test everything. I mean, the amount of rigor in your human factors is completely different between a medical device and a consumer electronic. Whereas, a consumer electronic, they're not asking for evidence. A medical device, they're asking for evidence. Show me the evidence that this is a validated, usable product. I don't think you have that level of rigor.
And thankfully there is, right?
That's right.
So this is going into year two of the TAG Awards, and
Yeah.
we celebrate
Exciting.
technology, achievement, and growth. Last year was our first year, so I mean there were definitely some bumps, but there were some really exciting products. What did you, not to get on a specific product or technology, but how did you approach the evaluation process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things is that, you're looking at technologies and how does the technology really advance care? How does the technology integrate to make something easier, to make something a little bit more accessible to people? Because we had technologies that were about accessibility, technologies that enabled further users, further opportunity to skip one therapy versus another therapy. So I think that fundamentally, first and foremost, we have to have a clinical reason and we have to make life better. I was excited last year when I was approaching the reviews to just look at that from that lens of how does this improve our health? How does this make a difference? And it was quite evident in the submissions on the get-go of where people were and what they were all about, and passion, the amount of passion that the companies were putting into the awards and their product designs. I mean, I think that they demonstrated a clear passion for for the solutions they were providing.
What are you looking forward to? Oh, actually, before we get to that, what did you see as like some of the maybe weaknesses of some of the entries that maybe in your mind didn't score as well? What would help a med tech, a biotech, or a life science company, have a high performing entry?
Yeah. I think I can't emphasize enough around the narrative to tell the complete story. So in some instances, there were
You
questions
think
like,
marketing is important?
I think it's just, but it's beyond marketing too. There's questions of, getting get an understanding of who the market, who it's targeted towards, but what it does and how it functions, and what the overall impact of this technology is. I think, you can go with, there's this product that's for this reason aimed at these people, but that is only part of the story. The next part of the story that's more interesting for me is, what's the impact of that? What is that doing for our clinicians? What is that doing for our lives and our health?
Yeah. There is ample space in the entry to go deeper and wider into those
Yeah.
stories. And I think that's a really good point, is to actually have a narrative that follows the journey of the device, like how it went from maybe the back of a napkin all the way through to
Yeah.
utilization.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, absolutely.
When you see that, and it kind of pulls at your heartstrings, what else is helpful? Like, are the videos or the
Oh,
images?
the videos are 100% helpful. I tend to read the title, get the gist, and go straight to the video to help me understand. I think the videos are infinitely helpful in the ability to use visual language, to use that motion to really explain the details around a product design. It's sort of a show me situation with video. And increasingly, I think that's an effective way, a more effective way to communicate with people, to show them, especially when you're demonstrating a product and you're showing that particular product off.
Yeah,
It's just easier to use video for it. Not long ones, though, short
right.
ones.
And there is a science to that too, is being able to
Yeah.
have as much information as necessary and not more.
Yes, yes, very much so. I think, increasingly our attention spans are shorter and shorter, um, which I think is to be reflected in both our product design and our support materials. So things like our instructional materials have to be really dedicated towards, that little bits, those tidbits that we can get the nuggets that we can grab the attention for, get the nugget delivered, and then move on to the next. When you look at a video and the video says that it's 30 minutes long, you're like, do I have time to sit through this? Am I willing to sit through this? That's just maybe unreasonable.
Yeah,
So the amount of information you can get and a tidbit is primary.
yeah. I do agree with that. It is something to behold, to have your attention held for that long when it's a description of how to use a product.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, thinking about diagnostics and digital health and even device development, you're in a really unique spot with the work that you've done, the consulting that you've done, the career that you've had. What trends are you following really closely right now?
I think I'm really interested in how new technology can improve or enhance current care methodologies. So, working with a startup company, Cynthia, with augmented reality and just changing the paradigm for how the electrophysiologist does their job. And it's been fascinating to watch the integration of the technology in the hospital systems, to look at that and say, is it going to work for them? Because I think integrating new technology in and of itself within an existing hospital framework, the IT, the amount of effort is not to be shied away from. I think there's as much effort in that aspect of deploying the product as there is in designing the particular product. Changing infrastructure is difficult. So when you have a game-changing piece of technology, we have to be careful and also effective at communicating the value so that we can get those change incorporated. And the other thing that I've been working on is really promoting the collaboration between end users and the medical device industry. So where can I go to do contextual inquiry? And a few years back, there was a paper that we wrote that says it's impossible. You can't go into a hospital and observe care. It's really, really difficult. So another thing that I'm noticing with the American Hospital Association and a few other key players is this desire, as they put human factors and usability as their front and center from a patient safety perspective. They're saying, oh, hey, let's involve the product designers. Let's involve new technology. Let's involve startups to come in and to really understand what it's like to do a day in our life. So I think that from a startup perspective, there's a lot of opportunity collaborating with those key, open partners to get some of those kinks worked out, to get the new technologies both developed and implemented in a hospital system.
Yeah. Actually, that was where I was kind of going to go with my next question is, how does that, collaboration is so important in order
Very
for,
much.
and especially a startup that only has one or two offerings or one or two, their first at bats, quickly you can run out of money if you're
Yeah.
not solving for the right problem.
Yeah.
I mean, so start there. Where do you see, clearly the benefits are that it helps the direction of a startup, but what other elements do you really, those collaborations help with the productization of the device?
Yeah, I think that, I work with an academic institution, National College of Art and Design in Dublin. And I've always been impressed with the amount of collaboration that they have within Ireland and their national health system and just the Royal College of Surgeons. And I've asked them, how do you have such close collaborations? And the bottom line is that they're small. They're a small country, right? And so then I come back home and I think, gosh, how can I implement that? I'm in Cincinnati, so how would I implement something like that in Cincinnati? And the reality is that you've got 3 or 4 hospital systems that are in competition with one another. So I think the ability for a startup to understand and navigate the waters of realizing that the hospitals are also competitive organizations for their care, and where they can help promote the collaboration to the benefit of that organization is going to be key to their overall collaborative success. How can this startup really shine and help that academic institution shine? And once you start collaborating with clinicians, I have found nothing but a bit of joy in watching them do something different,
Yep.
and it's a creative experience that they don't normally get to do, and so I think they welcome it.
Yeah. Thinking about that collaboration, even within a team, when it comes to creating a nomination or an application for an award, what is that having? I mean, I've been witness to your team coming together to complete nominations for previous awards when you were at HS Design previously, and seeing that there is an opportunity to bring in engineers, human factors, design, everything
Yeah.
into one room to put the best nomination forward. What does that do internally to kind of galvanize the team?
That is absolutely fun. And it really is it well, the thing is that you're so busy working on your day-to-day job where you're trying to get the work done on the first place, that this changes to come back and say, you need to pat yourselves on the back. I need to say, job well done. And that brings everyone together. When you're putting this submission together, you never know whether or not how it's going to do, right? You don't know, because you don't know what's going to be in the competition and how good or bad or how many the submissions are. So by bringing in the team, you're able to actually pepper in all of the different aspects and the challenges that the individual disciplines had, and they get to reflect back on what worked and what didn't work. So internally, you're able to either, maybe you need to make a few changes to adjust something, or, you're just bringing them back together to celebrate. So
Yep,
it's a really great time to reward job well done.
that's cool. I guess, thinking about the business itself as well, and you've been a partner in other companies. What is the third party validation or recognition really? Why does that matter in regulated industries like MedTech, life sciences?
I think it helps to really build the reputation of a startup in particular, where they may be not known. And it does 2 things. I think it brings awareness to a market, to a clinical market where you're trying to break through. And the second thing it does is actually bring awareness to your engineers, your future regulators, your future your future generation that might be interested in joining your company. So it's a bit of a twofold reward there, where they really, you can promote, hey, come work for us. We're an award-winning company,
Yeah.
as well as we have a validated product that's validated. It's been recognized. It's a recognized product that is that is good. That is going to be making a difference.
That's awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate you sharing your insights today and talking through what you're looking for as a judge. All right, so last questions for you. I know that you have a ton going on. What should we be looking forward to from MaryBeth Privitera?
It's a very good question. I think you should be looking forward to the next edition of the Applied Human Factors in Design book, because I have taken a bunch of really, really smart people and a lot of design literature and the entire AME faculty, and we have got one bang up book. Aside from that, I am happy to help anyone with their human factors and their design quest. And if I can't find an answer, then if I don't know an answer, I'll find someone who does know the answer to it. So that's my current missions.
That's great. Well, we'll link to your LinkedIn so people can connect with you and
Awesome.
reach out, and hopefully there's something cool that comes out of that. Can't wait for the book. We'll have to have you back on to promote the book.
That's awesome. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, MaryBeth. Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening to Tagged Beyond the Award. We hope you've been inspired by the stories of innovation and leadership shared today. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more incredible journeys behind the breakthroughs. If you or someone you know is leading the way in innovation, visit tagawards.co to learn more about how to get involved. Until next time, stay driven, keep innovating, and keep reaching for excellence.